Ethereum is currently experiencing a super cycle. As a result, institutional investors are purchasing $1 billion worth of Ethereum shares weekly. However, in the year 2025, Wall Street is now the one who is effectively tokenizing or digitizing the physical world. Bitcoin's supply is now at 5%. Bitcoin is being considered a reserve asset by governments. Another buyer of Bitcoin that will be larger than the halving cycle, in my opinion, will be when governments start to purchase it. Therefore, I believe that a halving cycle is unlikely due to the actions of governments and organizations. If you give it some thought, all it takes is a few of investments to double your money 100-fold, and your life will be forever altered. And that is the essence of crypto. You can wager on what might happen in the future. The moment for Ethereum XRP and Solana will come, albeit, in my opinion, quite soon. Actually, I think the long-awaited decision will be finalized in the next 3 days, and the trillions of dollars that have been promised all year will finally begin to pour into XRP. The most important things happening this week are going to be highlighted very quickly. Retail sales numbers for August are due out soon, and on Wednesday, the Federal Reserve will announce its interest rate policy. Here it is. The time has come that you have been anticipating. It seems like everyone is pointing to the Fed lowering rates. I have something I'd want to show you if it occurs. 20 of the last 20 instances that the Federal Reserve has lowered interest rates while the S&P 500 was at an all-time high resulted in higher stock prices a year later. Cryptocurrency is no exception. The odds of the S&P 500 closing higher in 12 months are exactly the same as they are for the crypto market, which is, of course, just as sensitive to the Federal Reserve's policy moves as the S&P 500. However, there is something that requires your attention. 11 of the 22 previous occurrences of this have resulted in a subsequent month-end decline in stock prices. Accordingly, we may see lower trading prices within the next 30 days following the Fed's rate cut, which is a probability of approximately 50%. You said there wasn't B500 in stocks and crypto. We're supposed to go up. I know a lot of you will forget the video I'm giving with you right now and ignore everything I said. I want you everyone to keep in mind that we have a deadline of 12 months. There's a 50% probability that within the next month, it will not reach those record highs, but it's still likely to end higher. But if it rises in the next 12 months, it will be irrelevant. I want it to be crystal clear. Things are going to become even more out of hand if the Fed cuts rates more than once. Although there is a high probability of short-term volatility, long-term price appreciation is nearly guaranteed. That covers everything, but in today's video, Tom Lee will go into further detail regarding the supercycle. Thus, let us listen to his words more carefully. Please pay attention. Crypto has been a part of my life since 2017. Back then, Bitcoin was worth less than $1,000. Now it's worth more than $110,000. That's when we initially suggested that clients have a 1-2% stake in the cryptocurrency. Yes, it has been 100 times more difficult. This year I was able to turn a positive outlook on Ethereum. Our team believes that Ethereum will be a major macro supercycle in the next 10 to 15 years, and I had the chance to collaborate with a firm called Mosaics. I consider them to be reliable business associates. We got the chance to build an Ethereum treasury on an existing company, and I've done business with them for around 15 years. Because Ethereum is going to be one of the most significant supercycle stories in the next 10 to 15 years, and because we saw an opportunity to build or change a firm similar to what MicroStrategy accomplished with Bitcoin, we thought this idea was a great fit. For the simple reason that I believe Bitcoin to be the perfect store of value, I continue to favor it and we continue to suggest it to clients. This is digital gold, then. However, a considerably larger shift is taking place in 2025 as a result of the White House's actual pursuit of dual agendas. To start with, there's the Genius Act, to essentially provide the go-ahead for stablecoins. That is, stablecoins, meantime, are poised for explosive growth. The current market value of stablecoins is approximately $280 billion. According to Treasury Secretary Bezant, it will approach $4 trillion, I think so. That is, thus, exponential expansion. Project Crypto, run by the SEC, is another initiative that aims to get Wall Street thinking about digital assets and eventually back onto the blockchain. At this pivotal juncture, the financial system is transferring all of its operations to the digital realm. Wall Street has decided to use Ethereum for this. Just like the US dollar had a super cycle in 1971 when it was decoupled from gold, Ethereum is currently facing a similar situation. The dollar's synthetication in 1971 marked the beginning of Wall Street's innovation in financial goods. However, in the year 2025, Wall Street is now the one who is effectively tokenizing or digitizing the physical world. One thing that makes Ethereum special is that it is the blockchain that Wall Street is using to create stable currency and tokenized assets. However, Ethereum is a blockchain that uses proof of stake. Staking does indeed generate a dividend for Ethereum treasury firms. The stock of MicroStrategy fared better than Bitcoin because of this. Price of MicroStrategy was 13 in August of 2020, priced at 335 today. Its size has increased by a factor of almost 25. There has been a 110,000% increase in the price of Bitcoin. It has therefore increased 11-fold. Yet, MicroStrategy's stock has increased in value by a factor of 25. You can thank MicroStrategy, a treasury firm, for increasing your Bitcoin per share, and Bitmine for weekly increases to your Ethereum held per share. Roughly 50 cents a day is its growth rate. Just so you have some idea, the stock was $4.50 when we revealed the treasury technique, and it's now $43. Consequently, it has increased tenfold. The value of Ethereum has increased by 50% over that time. Since your Ethereum holdings per share are increasing, Bitmine has been more successful than Ethereum. So, using the first example. Alright, so picture this: on July 8th, you possessed $4 worth of Bitmine stock or $4 worth of Ethereum. Then imagine if Ethereum's value dropped by half. Since the original buyer paid $4 for Ethereum and its value dropped 50%, they now only own $2 worth of the cryptocurrency. However, if the price of Ethereum drops 50% from its current $40 worth, then each share will be $20. Even though Ethereum dropped 50%, you still manage to make a profit. If run well, this crypto treasury will produce far better results than an exchange, traded fund, ETF, or even Ethereum itself. Because institutions know it's better to purchase MicroStrategy rather than a Bitcoin ETF, MicroStrategy has grown to become a larger firm than any Bitcoin ETF. But I personally choose XRP treasuries over XRP ETFs for this very reason. Nonetheless, this in no way diminishes the impending enormous impact of XRP ETFs on the future. I mean, it was incredible to witness the magnitude of Bitcoin ETFs launched by IBIT and other large institutions. Also, retail investors flocked to it since they were confused about the nuances of MicroStrategy and these ETFs. Furthermore, they failed to recognize the many ways in which these treasury businesses actually benefit them. One of the primary ones is the one that Tom Lee just mentioned. In any case, I'm getting off track. You may expect a large influx of new treasury companies. A growing number of individuals are embracing stable coins. Bank of America is lowering interest rates. The government is producing money, and it will probably keep doing so until the year ends. The info was presented to you. I presented you with the indisputable evidence. 20 out of the previous 20 times the Federal Reserve has lowered interest rates, the S&P 500 has closed the following year at an even higher level. The only way that statistic may alter the course of your life irrevocably is if you decide to use it. Thus, I am sincerely hoping. It will likely only be 3 more days before the Federal Reserve drops rates for the first time, so I hope you all pay attention to what I'm saying right now. We may even see more in the months to come, such as October, November, and December. If that occurs, XRP holders are in for quite a wild ride, to put it mildly. Without a doubt. There will be many ups and downs, and I simply wanted to mention that right now. 1 month from now, we have a 50% probability of closing at a lower price than we are today. That could be an option as well. Opportunity, though, is a byproduct of turbulence. My trade signal will help you capitalize